Doing? Hey, everybody. Hey, we're live. We're live. Let me let them know I'm on Instagram. We're live. Let them know I'm on Instagram. Let them know I'm on Facebook. Let them know I'm on YouTube. Welcome everyone to the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Yeah, come on in. Come on into the circle. It's time to talk to this to the real man of the desk. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Welcome, come on in. Let them know on the gram that I am here. Yes, sir. Now, today we're talking about how Kamala Harris slept her way to the top. We're also going to be talking about the tension that's still going on down there in Philadelphia. Our brother Walter Wallace Jr. was shot and killed by police. And also pro se litigants, how to represent yourself in the court system, whether you be on the lower level, magistrate court level, federal court, state court. And also I want to talk about my case and what happened in Henderson versus U.S. Security Associates and how that case got derailed by these three circuit judges, William Pryor, Judge Elizabeth Branch, and Britt Grant. And they were the civil rights organizations already told us that, there was something wrong with these judges before they was elected anyway. And so I knew that they were going to try to derail my case and did derail my case, ladies and gentlemen. And come on in. That's why we are here to talk about it. We're going to be talking about it today on the Lawyer Henderson Show. 516-418-5867. That's the number to call in to the Lawyer Henderson Show. 516-418-5867. We have to look at something here going live here on Instagram, going live on Instagram, going live on Facebook, going live on YouTube. And today we're talking about how Kamala Harris left her way to the top. Walter Wallace Jr. and also representing herself as a pro se litigant in Superior State and Federal Court. Let's get into it. Okay, so representing yourself in court. I'm going to come out with a book on representing yourself in court, a pro se plaintiff's way. We have a working title here. And basically, what the book is going to describe, which will come out probably next year, is it's going to talk to you about the steps and how you represent yourself in court and the procedures and stuff, and then also my own experience, because judges do not like pro se plaintiffs. And also, in my case, number 14739, in Henderson versus U.S. Security Associates, there was a lot of lies that were said in that case about what really happened. And the circuit court judges, like I said, Branch and Grant and William Pryor, all three of these judges is claimed to be nonpartisan, and they're really not. Okay, they basically, is they're just disgrace, to say the least, in what the judgeship is supposed to be about. There was this attorney who did a press release about how U.S. Security Associates supposedly had successfully represented themselves against me in court. It says employers successfully defend FISA case based upon judicial estoppel doctrine. And of course, this attorney didn't have all the facts. His name is Michael P. Beltran. He said in a recent decision, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals dismissed an unpaid wage and overtime FISA case because the plaintiff failed to disclose his claim in his bankruptcy. Debtors who file for bankruptcy protection are required to disclose all of their assets, which include potential legal claims. The purpose of such disclosure is to ensure that any claim is liquidated and used to satisfy creditors to the extent possible. Normally, if a debtor fails to disclose an asset, he loses his right to a discharge. So in this case, we're talking about judicial estoppel in federal court. And one of the things that these particular judges did is that they did not return the claim back to me after the case where the trustee abandoned it. Also, in addition to that, I'm going to read down here. It says here in his press release that in this case, the court imposed another punishment for failing to disclose his FISA claim in his bankruptcy. Okay, imposed another punishment. You see, this is what we're talking about when we talk about how judges are now trying to be policymakers. Impose another punishment was a good way to describe it, because that's basically illegal. If you're supposed to be interpreting law, not making policy. And this is exactly what these three circuit court judges did in my case. It also goes on to say that the court found that because the former employee admitted his FISA claim and bankruptcy filings, he cannot press the claim in court. Okay, and so the word repeating is very misleading. Also, it goes on to say that is the employer could not seek discharge of the debt on the basis of he was bankrupt and attempted to liquidate his assets, his claim outside the bankruptcy process. Number one, the bankruptcy was filed in March, and so all the way to September, you had no claim. This is what they don't tell you. And it also goes in and talk about several filings, and also supposedly had basically went back on their precedent in Barnes versus Pinco and Aeroplex, but then yet when it came to a pro se plaintiff, that then they kept the same kind of precedent within the case, and it's supposed to have changed this later. So you have to be very careful in judicial estoppel in court if you're representing yourself as a pro se plaintiff. The word estoppel is very important. Okay, but I wanted to just go over that briefly, that we're going to be coming out with a book on representing yourself in court. That was one of our topics of the day. But that case was my case in Henderson versus U.S. Securities. And I wanted to also read what I put on the legal.com. And then after that, we'll go into talking about our other topics of the day. But I said in a quote that this decision was completely a complete miscarriage of justice. A lot of other pro se litigants asked me about this case. If you read this brief and look into my case further, you will see that Judge Thrash and 11th Circuit Judges William Pryor, Brandt, and Grant, it meant Branch, and Grant violated my 14th Amendment rights to a fair trial. The bankruptcy court returned my claim back to me, and as you read in the brief, or this brief, the three-panel judges pointed this out with a pass-by reference. This case illustrates the perfect example of how white supremacists who claims to be liberal and nonpartisan treats pro ses and Black Americans. This case further details how judges and attorneys are in the bed together. For instance, you will read in the transcript that the U.S. Securities Associates and the clerk's office tried to hide my notice of appeal by keeping it in the marshal's office for a week. This is just one of the many instances of how I was treated as a pro se. U.S. Securities Associates may have won on paper, but me and my coworkers had ran them out of business. And that's all I have to say about that. You'll read the book. Once you read the book, you'll understand what I'm talking about. For those of y'all who wants to read it, it's a working title out there called "That's My Name, Not My Profession." How my case got destroyed by road judges. That book is coming out next year. All right, so we're moving on to our next topic of the day, and that is we were supposed to be having another topic. We're going to be talking. Oh yeah, the Walter Wallace Jr. court case. Riot down there in Philadelphia. Now they're already talking about trying to bring the federal government in. Okay, and it's like, again and again and again and again, this is not going to stop. Okay, I don't know why Black people think that the shooting and killing of Black folks is going to stop. It's not. Okay, Black people are the scapegoat of American politics and American policies. Okay, and that the white supremacists, as long as they're running the country and ruling over the world, they're going to basically always use Black people as a scapegoat, and they're going to always have violence among Black folk. That's not going to stop at all. Okay? No such thing as you're not going to. The thing is that it's became a part of the social being in this country. Okay? And to justify, rationalize the killings and murders of Black people is going to always be there. Okay? And you got Black conservatives who called me up trying to justify the shootings. And they were off topic yesterday about, they out there looting. They're out there turning up. They're out there stealing Nike shoes. And they're out there stealing big TVs and stuff like that. As if there is a right way or a wrong way to riot. And my subject matter yesterday was riot and revolt. That these people that is rioting is responding to economic necessity at the time that protests for justice is ongoing. Riot and revolt means that we have to engage in all kinds of rioting when a system of oppression is basically ignoring our grievances. You see, the Constitution and human rights itself says that if the government is unwilling and is unable to do its job, the people must step in to basically demand, and also, if necessary, will take over the country. Okay? We have a grievance towards the government right now. And because they're bringing in federal troops or bringing in army people and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with the ideal of that the grievance is still there. Okay? The ideal that we basically told you yesterday what a riot and revolt is. A revolt is saying that we're disagreeing with how you're policing in the streets. We're disagreeing with government. We're disagreeing with the way that things are operating. The people have a right to basically recall their government. Doesn't matter what the laws, what the people in office say. We are recalling the government because it is basically illegitimate at this point. It is basically using guns on its African American, or if that is a such word, on Black people in the United States, which is an illegitimate system at this point. People talk about, well, you go out there and vote, okay? We went out and vote since we had gotten the civil rights legislation passed, and we're still get shot and killed in the streets. There's no, you're not going to be able to change a racist heart, a racist mind, a racist attitude. That's not going to be. That's something that you're not going to be able to do. Okay. So this Walter Wallace Jr. incident in Philadelphia, and also with all the other Black people who's been shot and killed at the hands of police violence, is signalized, is telling us that this government, this system is illegitimate, that it uses guns and all kinds of weaponry, coming out with military style weaponry against Black people. But it doesn't do the same thing for white folk. I can show you plenty of videos where white men, drunk or and sober, was wielding knives all the way around everywhere, and you had 5 or 6 police officers with tasers. And the corroboration that they had with him is that, hey, man, they're drunk and he's telling you, man, go ahead and shoot me. I'm not basically, I don't want to live no more. My life is screwed up. And yet the police sat there and said, well, I don't want to shoot you. Just drop the knife. Stop welling it. And yet you seeing how that those white men who was doing that in every video that I've seen so far, and I saw 3 of them, all of them, basically there was a de-escalation of the incidents. And so I had Black conservatives calling me up yesterday talking about, oh man, he had a knife well into the police. No, he was a person with mental problems and issues that a lot of doctors and mental health technicians deal with every day. They deal with this guy every day, and when they told him, and basically, when you look at the evidence, it shows you that when they told him to lower the knife, he did. That he wasn't even welling it towards the, and no one asked him to come out to the scene any damn way. You see, every time the police shows up, something always badly happens. And we told you all is that the issue here is that we used to have, back in the days, back in the 30s and 40s and 50s and the 60s, your police officers went to school with you. Your mayors played on the basketball football team. Okay, back in the days, the attorneys and the judges, you went to school with them. You understand? You went to school. The mayor that was going to be running for mayor as they grow older probably was somebody that you had in class with you when you were in high school or college. But that's not happening anymore. We've seen now that the United States have turned its back on Black people who built this country, and it's now it went out into the other nations and countries, and then recruit them to come inside our communities and patrol them. And because they are scared and they basically are weak and cowardly, the only thing that they can do is reach for their guns and say, hey, pow, 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 pow. Because they're in a neighborhood that has basically been projected as being bad. We've seen, of course, how a lot of our communities where we don't even have a lot of crime in there. Most of our communities now are just abandoned neighborhoods where where all your drug dealers, of course, are gone or have been jailed, and you have a host of like a ghost town or something like that in your community. We don't have all of this killing and shooting. What they're talking about as far as black on black crime. You only have that situation in Chicago because we told y'all what that was about. It's all about organ theft. It's not about black on black crime. You're giving guns to these, to black folks to kill each other because you can show up and take their organs. That's what that is about. And so therefore, we're not going to continue to play white supremacy's game. This is an illegitimate system. And yet Trump is saying that he's going to bring or already called the federal marshals in or the federal police. Who cares about that? What we're saying is that your system is illegitimate. And the system is illegitimate because the people say so. We don't have to basically, to conform with you and consult with you in order to say that this is an illegitimate system. We as the people basically can say it when we have evidence in front of us. And it was interesting that Philadelphia, of course, have been dealing with a lot of racial tensions. This goes all the way back to where police was first patrolling in Philadelphia in 1830s. How many of y'all know that Philadelphia was having a history of police violence? And also in the resistance of abolitionists in May 14th of 1838, from day 14 to the 17th, that you had anti-slavery groups open Pennsylvania Hall at the 6th and Hines Street between Arch and Raids to have a place to meet. A white mob breaks in, ransack, and burn the building while the police stand by watching. Firefighters spray down neighboring buildings, but not the brand new hall, which burns into the ground. The mob burns down the shelter for colored orphans. Police do not arrest anyone for selling the fire. In October, a new state constitution takes away the right to vote from black Pennsylvanians. You understand? In other words, we've been dealing with racism and police violence ever since the 1800s. And when we was basically so supposedly freed from this country, then we still had the issue of dealing with, the Ku Klux Klan and all these white supremacists killing us with impunity. It also go on to March the 6th of 1857. Remember the famous Dred Scott decision. That Scott is an enslaved black man born in Virginia, sues for his freedom. His case goes all the way to the Supreme Court, which rules that he is not a citizen and therefore cannot sue in federal court. The decision says that the framers of the Constitution believed black people had no rights in which a white man was bound to respect. Come on now. You see, the Supreme Court itself is illegitimate. It is a system that is illegitimate. And it's a system that we basically have all been committing to and deciding that we're going to basically obey it. But the people have the right to redress or make also some grievance towards the system of white supremacy and oppression. Now, if you looked at some of my commentary about what happened in Wilmington, Delaware, it told you how white supremacy came into being. And that specific town in Delaware, And there's a whole documentary that talks about Delaware. Go and look at that. Okay. At the end of the Civil War, General Robert E. Lee surrenders in 1865. And now it's just now to date here where you have white people giving us symbolic gestures by just knocking his monuments down. This is not going to close the racial gap in this country. Understand? We go to 1865 to 1870 that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are adopted. The 13th Amendment is to abolish slavery, in which people still yet have to enslaved and when they're in jail. It's adopted in December 1865 is the 13th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, given equal protection under the law, is adopted in July of 1868. The 15th Amendment, giving black men the right to vote, is adopted in February 1870. You see? Police kill Henry Truman. A police officer shoot 26-year-old Truman in an alley in Society Hill at trial. The officer says the shooting is an incident that took place when was ambushed by a crowd by chasing an accused shoplifter. Witnesses at the trial said that they saw the officer chase Truman into the alley. This was back in March 31st of 1870s. You understand? So America is not going to get rid of its killing of black folks. It's ingrained into their history ever since the country was started. They accused this guy Truman of shoplifting at the age of 26 years old, and the officer said, "No, forget that. Let's just go ahead and shoot this nigga, and let's just say it's an accident." You see, our history goes all the way back into the Civil War. Not only we've been enslaved and we've been helping and assisting white folks to build this nation, but they also turned around and basically lynched us. Same thing happened during the Civil War. Black men helping to fight with white men and coming home being lynched. You understand? You help them successfully to conquer the South, but then you're gonna come home and now you fit to die because of lynching and because of racism and white supremacy. This is kind of history that they are not teaching our youngsters in school. We have our parents dragging our kids into these schools where white people are not telling the truth about their own history and they're lying to their own children. You got to be able to then tell your children the truth so they'll be able to understand what is still operating inside their bodies. As such, we have a lot of things that the white supremacist system. Now, when you fast forward all of that after the police killing of Henry Truman that happened in March of 31st of 1870, and then they had police officers arrive at the polls at 5th and Lombard Street, where many black men had been waiting for hours to vote. Some officers removed the ID numbers from their caps. The police confront and shove black people waiting in line while white people vote. Those who complain are arrested or beaten. A month later, black people trying to vote in Canton meet similar violence, intimidation, and arrests at the hands of groups of white men and police officers who crowds around the polls. See, so when we talk about these white men who join in with the police as what they're calling recruitment, white men who basically that's what they're doing now. They're deputizing white men. And then you had these old bootlicking Negroes like that sheriff down there, I forget that, I think it's in Florida or somewhere, where he said that we may have to deputize our citizens to help us in this situation. That's what they're doing now. They deputizing a lot of your what you call them, the federal marshals, or I mean not the federal marshals, but the army, the National Guard, and all these people. There's some of them, if they cannot get enough people to show up, they go around and then recruit and deputize, and they meet, and then that's when they come to the protest. You see, so we know that white supremacy is full effect. Okay, and so Philadelphia has a hit. Now, I don't have time to go through all of the history, but the Inquirer does a good job during the from Civil War until today. Look at 1918, a black man by the name of Riley Bullock is killed. Okay, they was in the 1920s. They were, uh, letting out tear gas, and they were doing the same thing they're doing now in the 1920s. Same thing, and you didn't have. You didn't have, of course, social media at that time. What you had, ladies and gentlemen, was a sense of what we went out and did as black folks. We were there. We communicated. It was about word of mouth. It was about, this was the first time for us to choose who we thought was going to be the good white person, the good white man, like we do now with the Democrats and Republicans. And still yet we get at the bottom of the feed here. This is going on constantly. So that's the issue. We keep on falling for the same things. And the thing is, and the ideal is that this is our relationship with white people, regardless of whether or not we want to admit it or not. It is a slave versus slave master type relationship. Regardless if you're a black man or a black woman, that's your relationship with white folks. And that's going to always be, that's the intentions, okay, ongoing. Okay. So in the 1960s, let's go ahead and go there. We were going through the same thing. It was all kinds of police brutality, specifically in Philadelphia. Okay. And in 1963, one of the first major studies of police shootings shows that Philadelphia police was shot and killed 32 men between 1950 and 1960. Nearly 90% of those kills are black, while the black population of Philly is only 22%, and 30 of the deaths, officials ruled that the shootings were justified. Officers are arrested and 2 others, but is acquitted by juries. You see, the history of police violence goes all the way back to the Civil War, and especially in Philadelphia. And so we have to be able to dissect why we're getting shot and killed on the streets. Now, the late, great Dr. Amos Wilson, my teacher, taught us that it's a scapegoat for the European to kill us like that. It's a scapegoat. And mind you, when you looked at Ronald Reagan's speech, go back and look at his speech, he always used the black man as scapegoats. They always have used black people as scapegoats back in those times when they were in office. You ask a white person back in the 1980s, they have always used the Negro as an scapegoat. The Negro can do better. And then that's the reason why you got other black folks who are agreeing with the white supremacists today, because they probably got some like opportunities here and there. So they'll blame other black folks. And so that division creates this norm and notion that black people are just lazy and stuff, and we don't want to do anything. No, you have not even gave us the opportunity to do anything because you did not give us our reparations. Remember, Andrew Johnson, he was so racist that he basically did not even want to pass anything relating to black folks. Okay, certain types of legislation got passed. That's because of the House of Representatives. They had to put on in the Senate, they had to do what's called a 2/3 vote or whatever to pass or override his vetoes. So we've always had a situation where we were held back. And now the only thing that white people have offered us was jobs, and we think that that's something. But ladies and gentlemen, the slaves who were freed, also had jobs. Okay, I'm going to do a commentary about the four banks, the four major banks that contribute in slavery, where basically they built themselves up through slavery, and how Chase Bank specifically was the most atrocious bank and within the fort. They were all no good. They were all some real slimy bastards. But Chase Bank, and I have wrote the CEO of it, and called him and talked to him about it. But Chase Bank was the most gruesome and cruel. I mean, they were basically atrocious. Atrocious. They were diabolical because Chase Bank said that, all right, you freemen, I'm gonna give y'all these loans, but if y'all defaulted on them, not only is it going to take your land that you purchased, but I'm going to also say that you have to be a slave so that you can pay back the debt. And that's exactly what happened. Chase Bank grew because of that policy. You understand? And we got black people who are so foolish that will go and put their monies into Chase Bank, Citibank, uh, uh, Bank of America, and Wachovia, which is now called Wells Fargo. And these are the four banks that enslaved black folks. And I can't tell you how much that basically we have financed our very own oppression and struggle. And that's the reason why our kids are turning up out in the streets. And that's the reason why I don't blame them, because their parents in white society keep lying in these schools, and they keep on lying about who really actually contribute more in this country. And it wasn't white people. White people have always been lazy. They have never ever done anything to which they think, that which they get people to think. They have always stole land. After the Civil War, remember, white people were given free land by the government, where black people had to pay for their land. And white folks didn't have to work for anything. And the land that the government didn't give them, white folks just went out and said, oh, that's mine. Just like they did during the apartheid system, just like they did in Rhodesia when Zimbabwe was Rhodesia, Rhodesia, however you say it. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is that this is embedded already in the American society, and you're going to always have police violence unless you redress the situation here. You stand up to the police. And you basically have to do exactly what they're doing to us. That's the only way it's going to stop. This nonviolent stuff, that's not going to work. We've tried to pass legislation. That's not going to work. Okay? We show that there's a history of violence within white communities. Okay? Let's get back on air here. I'm sorry, guys. I got to get back on air. I don't know why it hung up. Sorry. Hold on. Okay, hold on, bear with me, guys. It actually they hung up here. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. But yeah, family, we have to understand that white supremacy is global and that they're not going to do anything for us. That's the reason why we had to turn our back on voting. We're saying to the system that it's illegitimate at this point. We're saying that the system is not working for us. And we're basically now in a situation where the Chinese has done the same thing. But one thing that was good about the situation with the Chinese, is that at least black folks, for the majority of the time, had stopped eating in their Chinese restaurants, which now they're feeling some type of way, because in their communities now, they are basically saying to the white folks, oh, we're unemployed because Negroes are not eating in our restaurants. And rightfully so. But see, had that virus not happened, black folks will still be eating Chinese food, and some of us are still in there, and they're eating it too, despite the fact that this coronavirus is still going on, this pandemic is still going on, and that's how foolish and ignorant we are. The ideal here is that you are financing your own oppression back into slavery. We told you about year 2053. Year 2053 is when black folks will be going back into slavery. They are already a permanent underclass right now. Now, of course, we have some black folks out here who is doing business with each other, and we're trying to transform. I have actually brought some of them on my show like a week or month ago. But we have to basically understand that we have to do better. And this is exactly what our show is about. That's the reason why we have certain types of black folks online. And we're telling you that the lame screen media is not going to tell you. What the lame screen media is talking about is that, all right, now y'all know these online folks, you know them, that they talking all that old black power stuff. They need to stop all that stuff. Now y'all listen to us, okay? No, y'all shouldn't be listening to them, because everything about black empowerment they're going to call a conspiracy theory, or talking about this what they call it, talking about there's racism against black folks. That's not true. That's not happening. Yes, it is. And now they're using black celebrities talking about, oh, this is not a black and white thing. It is always a black thing. Okay? This multicultural stuff is going to kill black folks, because we basically think that we have to then share things with other people when other people ain't sharing a damn thing with us. That's foolish. Now, we went to talk about how in Philadelphia that they were having a history of violence here, and everybody know who Bull Connor is. He's the one who basically was the one that basically brought all of these barbaric ways as to how you attack the protesters on these civil rights marches. I mean, he was just so diabolical. He was basically framing how they were going to attack the protesters, how they were going to, if they had to, beat them with batons and all this old stuff. He was the main reason why even, black women their breasts were being yanked off by dogs, because of what he put in place, basically to show that, listen, we don't want y'all rallying and protesting. Get the hell on out of here. So in Philadelphia, going back to it, December 22nd, 1969, Police Oversight Board abolished. You see, these people abolished their own oversight board so they can engage in more corruption. With one sentence order, Mayor James Tate abolished the Police Advisory Board, which handles citizens' complaint against police conduct, and what Rizzo calls the finest Christmas present the police of the city could receive. Tate announced that the move in a speech to 100 commanding officers and received a 1-minute standing ovation. The record of the Philadelphia Police Department is unparalleled throughout the nation, Tate said. You see, this is what we basically were going through. We were going through a period of brutality and racism that was basically where white folks was just out at us. Now, since their wealth is 10-1, and we are scared to obtain wealth because we think that we're going to have to then challenge white people. I think that's why we stay away from economics so long. I'll be poor as long as white daddy and white mommy is not upset. But that's black people. They basically are scared. And I think one of the things that we have to understand, y'all, is that we cannot no longer be afraid of white folks no more. This fear has to go, man. I'm telling you. And that's the reason why I love our women to death, but y'all gonna have to allow these men to help raise these sons. Because in a sense, you can't raise a man to be a man. Only we can do that. Let me see my hold on, let me see something. I have to nigger rig some stuff right quick. And so this is, and I'm not blaming y'all because hell, you can have a black man who's a beta male, and still yet nothing happened. You know, he don't teach the child anything. So I'm not just blaming the sisters, but what we have to do is we have to give a different system here, and that's the reason why I had basically set up the University of Black Power. This is going to be a university that's in the works where we give a different education to our children. I mean, since we're online now, online will be the next best thing because now you can go to school, you can create a college online. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do something that will change the minds of black folks here. I'm trying to do my part. And I think that we have we have people out there doing something. I mean, we have Dr. Umar Johnson because the elders are getting old. We lost Dr. John Henry Clark. We lost Amos Wilson. We lost Dr. Khalid Muhammad. We lost all of the great black men, Dr. King, Malcolm X. We lost all of them. We lost, we don't have Sister, um, what's her, Sojourner Truth or Harriet Tubman. We don't have them no more. Okay, we got certain types of black women like Vicki Dillard that is now trying to take their place, but she needs help from other black women. Okay, Erica Lachey, who brings the spiritual music to us. We got black women out there, but we need more. We need more black men out there pushing a different agenda to educate our kids and to then move away from Eurocentric psychiatry because it is basically destroying our mentality. As Marcus Garvey said, if when you revolutionize the mind and you revolutionize the body of men, okay. So let's go ahead and, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're still you're waiting on the commentary with Kamala Harris. We'll get to her in a minute. The number to call is 516-418-5867. 516-418-5867. All right. So that's the reason why police violence is important. Let's go to the phone lines here. Area code 305. What's up, dear?
Hey.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, so I'm great. So you were speaking that fire as always.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't want to just come in and randomly just speak on any point of what you were saying. So what point in particular do you want to discuss about your conversation?
Here's the thing. We're talking about transforming. We're talking about setting up our own institutions and schools and setting up our own and removing ourselves away from European history and psychiatry, and also just basically turning our back on the system without, not voting and all that. Let's speak up on what you think that the black woman's role is in helping people like Dr. Umar Johnson and others to go ahead and try to set that fire to black folks who should be on code. What say you about that?
Well, I think that the black woman, I don't know how, any one person could specifically affect another individual person, but I do know that the strength of the black woman can definitely actually affect a positive change in the Black community as a whole. And I do believe that a lot of our women, or women in our race rather, this is not for me to claim anybody, but a lot of the women in our race have been pacified by white supremacy. And so, you know, they don't really have that warrior spirit, the spirit that they need in order to push themselves, their men, and their children properly. You know, but again, it's not the woman's job, like you were saying, to raise the man, but it is the woman's job to give strength to her man. Absolutely. And a lot of Black women don't give strength to their men. They actually deplete their men of strength because, unfortunately, the man is not the man in our system. You know what I'm saying? And so it's supposed to go man, woman, child. And if the man isn't properly leading, then the woman can't. She's not going to be operating in her proper order. But it is a woman's job to know what type of man that she should be dealing with so that her and that man can be progressive Black people in the Black community.
Absolutely.
And so I think that a woman should just know, one, you're supposed to know your proper order as a female. You're supposed to know the proper order of a man. You're supposed to know what type of man you want to lead you. And you're supposed to know what type of man that you would want to give your pearl to, your strength to, you would want to help strengthen to lead you properly. But a lot of our women, because of low self-esteem and desperation and loneliness and not having, you know, the man not having adequate finances, a lot of Black women settle for Black men who they find themselves not being happy with. And then you have this contentious Black woman spirit in our community where they're always complaining about the Black man. The problem isn't the Black men. We know that there's messed up Black men just like there's messed up Black women. But it wouldn't be fair to say that all Black men are wrong, just like it's not fair to say that all Black women are wrong. So I think that it is the Black woman's proper order and nature to properly assign the right Black man to her so that she doesn't become a bitter Black feminist woman.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's
then
go ahead.
Black man would be able to properly raise the boys in the family, because you have these men who are not able to raise their boy children because either they walk out or they're just not proper men to help raise those kids. And so again, Black women, you got to do better and choose better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the men that Black women are choosing is a huge concern for me, because I think, you know, it's just anybody can, you know, I'm saying, lay down and have children, but it comes a point now that it's like, man, you know, what kind of information are you feeding these kids? And, you know, like that old saying, it take a village to raise a child. And it's like, man, we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. I want to talk to you also about how do you think that we can do more without using the system of white supremacy to help us? What kind of, you know, organized strategies you think that Black folks should have at this point?
Well, because because the system is so the mind is so Europeanized and the system is so controlled by white folks, it's really not much that one can do without oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Because the system is controlled by white people, and Black people cannot do it on their own as far as sustaining themselves. They would have to have a backing of other Black people. It's not much that you really can do outside of the system, right?
Right.
What the Black person would have to work with is their mindset within the system, not so much your tangible assets within the system. Because the tangible assets, as long as other people like you are using it, unfortunately, I mean, you being, you know, out there in the island by yourself, you're not going to be able to really do much, right?
Right.
So the mindset that one must have is to understand that the system of white supremacy is not real. It's not real. It's something that can be broken down. It's something that utilizes natural sources and resources, the same natural sources and resources that you can use. So I think that once a person loses that fear of the system and uses that need of codependency of the system, then I think that in of itself is a form of gaining power and control of oneself as a black person within the system. The mind, and I think a lot of the times black people want a quick fix. Unfortunately, how can I tell you a quick fix answer? Not you in particular, but I'm just speaking to people who often say, well, what should we do?
That's right.
I can't tell you a quick fix answer for 40 minutes or 4 hours for something they've been perfecting over 400 years, and they still haven't stopped trying to figure out how to keep you oppressed. I can't tell you that, and if I do tell you, y'all will say, well, we can't do it. So what you would have to do is just not take back control of your mind. See, once white supremacy infiltrates your mind, then you're done.
Right.
Play around in the system all you want to, but when you know that it's not real, then you won't have this dependency, this codependency, and this fear of losing your job, or this fear of the white system, or you won't have that fear.
Right.
Because you would know the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah, the system of white supremacy is a artificial system because it creates into it a illegitimacy. In my opinion, it's real illegitimate. Anybody, they cannot basically have power unless you go along with it. And so in the system of white supremacy, we have a lot of people who basically is just going with it, who basically want to get a pat on the back from white mommy and white daddy. I was talking to a black conservative yesterday, and he was upset, and I want to get your opinion on this, because he was saying, well, instead of black folks, y'all down there, messing up people's livelihood because y'all stealing TVs at Walmart. Y'all should be burning down the courtrooms. Is there any specific strategy as far as how to loot? I don't mean to be cynical, but is there any process of how to legitimately, loot and rioting? Is there? No, but that's what he was upset about with me yesterday. I don't know if you listened to the program.
That it's ridiculous for anybody to try to play fair with the system that's not playing fair with them. It's a fair exchange. I mean, they've been robbing, raping, and mistreating us. So why would you bow to them? I don't see how looting or stealing. I don't see how that's a negative. But see, the thing is that black folks have been taught to be docile and to be righteous around unrighteous people. It's that turn the other cheek syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unfortunately, you're going to have black people like that. The problem is not so much that, those people were going into Walmart and looting. I think the problem was that the mindset behind those people that were going in there doing it, they weren't doing it for a revolutionary reason. They were doing it for a coon reason. So you have one coon who abides by the system going at other coons who are a little bit more rebellious, but they're not rebelling for the right reason. So, I mean, in the case of that, neither of the two are right, per se. But as far as going against the system, in order for it to look like it makes any type of sense, it would have to take more than just a few hundred people. And it would have to be for a revolutionary cause, not just because you want a TV.
Right.
Because that makes sense. So in the sense, he's right, but in the other sense, he's saying abide by the white man's system, and so hear that?
Yeah. You all right?
I don't like fucking every day.
Oh wow.
Okay, so the queen going on. Yeah. So unfortunately, to a certain extent, he was right. Grabbing a TV ain't doing nothing. But the reason why he was saying it was not so much because, it wasn't a revolution behind it. He was saying it because he feels like black people are supposed to abide by a system that doesn't abide by them, which is crazy. So, like I said, neither of the two are right. If it's not coming from a revolutionary standpoint. His point could have been made in a revolutionary way, and the people who went in looting, it could have been done in a revolutionary way. But let's just be very honest. There's no such thing as looting for a revolutionary cause. I unless you are looting to take care of your family. But if you're looting for shoes, like Nike shoes, and you're looting for televisions and radios, like that's not. There's nothing righteous behind that. That's a black person that wants the materialism of the white supremacist system. So one will literally lose their life to get this white man's TV, which is the looter. Like, I mean, these white folks got it set up all the way around. So yeah, man, if you ain't trying to burn that motherfucker down for a real cause and to say, if this don't get out of our neighborhood, then we gonna move it. I mean, come on, it makes no sense. It is ridiculous to do that.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I have a quote from Amos Wilson. I want you to respond. He says that the white man has put a fence on our history, associated blackness with all kinds of negativity to the point where we want to escape this blackness. In escaping the blackness, we escape all the gifts our ancestors has for us. Do you believe in that we have ancestries that basically have gifts for us?
I want to hold that because I'm ordering something and talk on that, and then I'm going to get.
Okay. Yeah, this is coming from Dr. Amos Wilson. He was a Afrocentric psychiatrist who basically, got me into Afrocentrism and information of what we as Black people in the United States, what we deal with as far as our psychology. He wrote on the book. He wrote a lot about the psychology of the Black child and how we're shaped in the society to, to work for white people and to work for Europeans. That we basically have. Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I'm back. So now, what was Amos Williams' question to his statement?
No, Amos Wilson was a psychiatrist, and he did a quote that I wanted you to respond to me. Did you hear it? Did you did you get?
I did, but do you mind repeating it again?
Yes, go. Sure. He says that the white man has put a fence on our history, associated blackness with all kinds of negativity to the point where we want to escape this blackness. In escaping the blackness, we escape all the gifts that our ancestors has for us. Do you think that our ancestors have left us gifts in a sense?
I would be wrong to say no, but I wouldn't be realistic if I said yes. I do believe just like now, then we had coons.
Yeah.
And the coons clearly overpowered the real ones. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that to an extent, some of our ancestors did something, and this is just individually speaking, but I think as a collective, no, they did not leave us. That's the reason why we are suffering for whatever sins that they did then. And I do believe that there was something that Black people did wrong for the reason why their offspring and their generations are in a sense cursed. I'm an Israelite, so you already know that I have a spiritual understanding when it comes to that. But I don't believe that they left us any gifts. I believe though that if I were to interpret his statement in another way, I would say that the white man has left the white folks trying to tell our history has made Black people ashamed of being Black. From everything down to their hair, everything down to the color of their skin, their facial features, because of how they have negatively distorted the views and perspectives of our ancestors. I do believe that causes a lot of Black people shame to be Black today. I think that people are just now being comfortable with calling themselves Black because so many of our people, when I used to ask Black people just like a year, probably 2 years ago, and you know this, but a year, 2 years ago, when I would ask Black people what race did they, what were they, they'll say I'm Black, but then they'll go and say Indian, and I'm not saying that there's no such thing as Black Indians. I'm not saying that, but most Black people are not thinking of themselves as a Black Indian. They're thinking of the straight, haired Indian with the, they're thinking of that. So, a lot of Black people do want to remove themselves from their race, and I'm not just by name, but by phenotype, by bloodline, and everything else.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really is what we're trying to do here. I guess is we're trying to shape the minds. But we as Black folks, we all got different types of personalities. I think that people are influencing and shaping. One, they're telling us that we should think this way. The school telling us to think another way. You got everybody within our mind. Do you think that we need all Black people to unify us, or do you think that we need basically, probably a few millions? What do you think about Black unity and how we can unify?
That's a great question because my perspective over time has definitely changed. I think in a perfect world for Black people, or in a I won't say perfect, in a normal world for Black people, the normal thing would be yes, unification. But because we're not in a normal world and we're not in our normal state, you can't unify with all Black people because some Black people have a white mind, and so when they see you, they see an enemy. So you have to be careful, even with the whole unifying with Black folks. You got people who are agents, so to speak, who will be, they look like you, but they'll come around you just to set you up for these white folks.
Right.
So you have to be careful when, the whole unifying thing, like, you can only really take care of yourself and your household in this day and age and let the Most High work with you. And if you believe in the God, let that source work with you as a Black person because we don't have any protection in the system. We don't have protection with other Black people, and we damn sure don't got protection with people outside of our race. That's for a fact. So, unification in a normal world, yes, we would have to unify. But because, like I said, Black people have been so mentally infiltrated, they're just as wicked, if not more wicked, than a white man or the non-Black man or the Asian man, the Indian man, because towards their people. Because in order for you to stoop that low to act like another race of people, you have to be more savage than that person because you're going out of your natural nature. So unfortunately, a lot of our people are some nasty motherfuckers when it comes to our progression. So, like I said, in the normal world, yes. But because Black people are not in their normal state, unfortunately, we cannot unify with everybody. But you have to make sure that your mind personally for yourself is right.
Okay, cool. Hold on right quick. All right, so 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. Any more thoughts on Walter Wallace Jr. that you want to add about down there in Philadelphia?
Do I want to add anything to Philadelphia?
To the Walter Wallace Jr. shooting. You want to add anything about that?
No, I didn't even hear anything about that.
Oh, you didn't?
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, where the Black dude who waved the knife and then the police shot him in Philadelphia. You didn't hear about that?
No, I didn't hear anything about it.
Okay. Yeah, so they're protesting right now down there, and the streets was, they burned down some buildings, and that's why I was asking you about the looting and stuff. And they were looting in Walmart, and they were looting in Foot Locker, and all this, taking TVs, everything. Walmart was just empty down there. But this is right around time for for the white man's Christmas holidays, so I guess they're gonna have a lot of gifts there. Yeah, but so you didn't hear about that, okay? All right. So, but let me ask you. So, let's say if you only have because I know we only got I'll say about at least probably 4 or 5 million Black folks on code. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think though that if it may come to a point that we're just gonna have to be split up like North Korea and South Korea?
In America?
No, well, in general, as far as what you believe,
Can I get some ketchup? Hold on.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, we're talking. We're supposed to be talking about Walter Wallace Jr. So the protest is still going on,
I got 3 spicy wings.
and down there in Philadelphia. So, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, that's been going on there. Philip Scott of the Abaya Show, or the Afro
Hello.
Sister. Yeah, hey, hold on, Deity. And so he brought on Sasha Johnson and another particular female. They were debating. It was a conservative
I heard
versus.
about a black couple that had got shot. I mean, as far as the shooting for black people, I think, I personally don't have, not to say anything about people who do, but I personally don't really care to talk about it. Because at this point, it's like either you go do something or you go do something. Thank you so much, Queen. Thank you, Queen.
All right, so.
Excuse me, Queen. No, that's.
So I had to hold on. 5. Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Call dropped, everybody. I'm sorry. But anyway, we were talking about, what's going on in the Wallace issue here. Let me do this. Hold on. It also said that the Black Panther raid happened in Philadelphia. Police raid Black Panther Party office after a police officer is fatally shot and 3 others are wounded. During the raid, police handcuffs and strip search members against the wall outside the headquarters and storefronts on Columbia Avenue. Now Rizzo is elected mayor. He also gets a second term in 1975. And then, police beat William Cradle, which is in April of 1977. So this has been going on for years, where we had police officers shooting, killing black folks. And it says 1978, 1 year, many events, 52 shots by police. While 1978 sees a drop in police shooting by police, down from 128 for a year earlier, numbers of high-profile cases and events. Okay, and then it goes on, but I can't, like I said, I can't read it all. But it's been a history of police violence in Philadelphia, and here's the thing: even after Obama, it still intensified. It still was a problem. It still was an issue. So we are basically in this country confronted with all kinds of things that basically we shouldn't be confronted with. Okay, we're taking your calls here at 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. Okay, so we're going to go into, when we come back from our music break, we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris, and did she sleep her way to the top? You're listening to the Lawyer Harris Show. 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. Moving on to the next topic of the show. We're talking about Kamala Harris. Did Kamala Harris have an extramarital affair with Willie Brown that boosted her career? And that has been the rumor. And also, Willie Brown had came out. He did an interview, which you can find online. And it almost seemed like Willie Brown was just bragging that, he had sex with Kamala. Harris long ago distanced herself from the relationship, though. So she didn't even talk about it, I don't think. It says that vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris had an extramarital affair with former San Francisco mayor and state assembly speaker Willie Brown, who gave her two political appointments that launched her political career. Okay, so what is true? Harris did date former San Francisco mayor and state assembly speaker Willie Brown for a period of time between 1994 to 1995. In his capacity as speaker, Brown appointed her to two political posts. First, to California Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board, and then to the Medical Assistant Commission. What's false, according to this article in Snopes, is that although Brown has technically still married during the time period that he dated Harris, he had been estranged from his wife, Blanche Brown, for more than a decade. Harris' first successful run for office was in 2003, happened well after the relationship ended, and Harris sought to distance herself from Brown. You see? She gets all of this come up. Now she decided that I don't need this black man on August 11, 2020, Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, selected U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat of California, as his running mate. Harris, who is the daughter of a Jamaican and Indian immigrants, made history as the first woman of color nominated as vice president of the majority party ticket. You see, this is another thing about the United States. You remember Obama, they were talking about how they didn't believe that he was from here. Now Kamala Harris, we know that even though she was born here, her mother is from India and her father from Jamaica. But she has floating around right now that she's listed as Caucasian. Just the same thing that these white Hispanic do. When they come over to this country, they list themselves as being white. They don't identify as being their real native being. And so Kamala Harris only mentioned that she's black when it's convenient. Why is it that Kamala Harris, when she does an interview that is relating to black folks, when she's basically talking about in an interview, she'll say, my heritage, my black heritage. But she never, a lot of time, mentioned who her father is. Her father is not even claiming to be a black. He put Jamaican on his birth certificate. And of course, the mother is going to say that she has Indian heritage. And that's basically what Kamala Harris is basically wanting to represent herself as an Indian woman. But the article goes on to write that predictably, the internet lit it up with rumors about Harris, who has been married to her husband, attorney Douglas Inhofe, since 2014. Snopes reader asked about the article memes circulating on social media, stating that the years prior, Harris had an extramarital affair with former San Francisco mayor and California Assembly Speaker Willie Brown, and was soon claiming that Harris' political success was achieved by being Brown's so-called mistress. A tawdry headline from the TeaParty.org story read, flashback, Kamala Harris launched her political career in bedroom as a mistress of married Mayor Willie Brown. And so, therefore, they give a meme of this. Now, this is what we talk about when we talk about women sleeping their way up to the top. You see, this is what we're talking about as far as Weinstein. Yes, he did wrong, but how many women in Hollywood took those roles just to get in certain movies, and now they're mad because their their careers are tainted and destroyed. We're talking about sleeping your way to the top, and a lot of women are sleeping their way to the top. And basically, it's getting in positions and roles for, because they're sleeping at the top. And Kamala Harris was no different. Kamala Harris basically made it just because of having sex with a older man when she was in her 20s. It was really something that it was like, wow, okay. She was snooped to this level to have an older boyfriend or somebody who she was sleeping with who was older and could have been her father, so that she can get some type of political power in this country. The articles in Snopes goes on to write that these narratives are misleading by the way of exaggeration. Harris dated Brown in the mid-1990s, but Brown had been estranged from his wife since 1981. Brown did appoint Harris to two political posts in 1994 while he served as the Speaker of California Assembly, but that was years before Harris won her first election in 2003. She was already working as an assistant district attorney in Alameda County when she took on the appointments. It never been a secret Harris dated Brown in the mid-1980s, although it may not be well known outside political circles in California. Brown addressed the past relationship in a terse piece published by the San Francisco Chronicle on January 26, 2019, a day before Harris officially launched her presidential campaign. So Willie Brown is not only here saying, hey, I helped to boost this half a career, and yeah, she screwed me for it. I smashed. I smashed that. I hit that. And basically, I'm going to go on all these networks. So before she got with that white boy, I did it. Player, Willie Brown. Willie Brown was hitting that young thing like there. Oh, Willie. Oh, Willie Brown was hitting it now. The article reads that, yes, we dated. It was more than 20 years ago. Yes, I may have influenced her career by appointing her to two state commissions when I was Assembly Speaker. And I certainly helped with the first race for district attorney in San Francisco. And I have also helped the careers of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Governor Gavin Newsom, and Senator Dianne Feinstein, and a host of other politicians. So he is the one that we got to think, who we had to think for all of these mediocrity in government now. We have to thank him for this. The history of relationships and political appointment Brown gave Harris have been reported in California-based news outlet for years. Los Angeles Magazine reported in 2019. Okay? And so just to read the disclaimer that we are reading from Snopes, which is www.snopes.com. That's the fact sheets. So I want to give them credit for this article. Willie Brown was a fixture in California politics for years, serving as the Speaker of the State Assembly for 15 years and known as something of an unofficial deal maker and influencer, and first met Harris in 1994 when she was an assistant district attorney in Alameda County. He was 60 years old at that time. He had been estranged from his wife, Blanche Brown, since 1981. Look at that. They ended the relationship in 1995. So she was screwing this man. She trying to say that she only was screwing him for a year. But either way, she slept with him because she knew that she could get those two positions that he appointed her to, and that could have boosted her career, and it actually did. So she slept her way to the top. And all you have to do, of course, is have the credentials. And you see, you have a lot of bed wenches who basically wouldn't have went her route. She went out and got a white man thereafter, of course. But there's a lot of bed wenches who would have been like, nah, I don't want to start off with dating a black man. I'll just go straight and try to find me a zaddy. You know? So I guess this is the reason why she got a career that is unmatched with everybody else here, every other woman. I guess this is the reason why Joe Biden picked her. 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. I was going to also go into this. Now, like I said, I have, sleeping your way to the top. I have no problem with that. It just depends on how you do it. Kamala was very, very sneaky in how she did it. Okay. And then here you go. They're trying, see, in this article, they're trying to justify it. It said that Harris didn't run for political office until well after her relationship with Brown ended. In 2003, she made a successful bid for the office of San Francisco District Attorney, a position she held until she was elected to serve as the Attorney General of California, taking office in 2011. She held that post until she was elected in 2016 and served in the United States Senate representing the state of California. Harris has been beset by allegations that Brown influenced her career for years at the time of her first run to office in San Francisco District Attorney, as Elle Weekly quoted Harris distancing her from Brown. I refuse to design my campaign around criticizing Willie Brown for the sake of appearing to be independent, when I have no doubt that I am independent of him, and that he would probably right now express fright about the fact that he cannot control me. His career is over, and I will be alive and kicking it for the next 40 years. I do not owe him a thing. And see, that's the resentment. And in regards to the political appointment, Harris went on to state that these jobs were created before I was born. Whether you agree or disagree with the system, I did the work. I worked hard to keep St. Louis Hospital and San Francisco Mission neighborhoods open. I brought a level of life knowledge and common sense to the jobs. I mean, if you were asked to be on a board that regulated medical care, would you say no? You see? Now she's showing resentment for a man who helped influence her career. She's showing that, okay, now I got the job now. I'm with White Daddy now. And I don't need you no more, nigga. Stop doing interviews about us. I did the job and my white zaddy is liking me now. And deal with it. Okay? So basically, she's telling her roots, into which got her her political position that, nigga, I don't need you talking about us anymore. That's over. That was way before we got into the political career. But the problem with that, man, is that he basically appointed you to those positions. That's the thing, Harris, Miss Harris. And now that she's sleeping with White Daddy, oh, everything is all good now. Okay? So this right here is the biggest bad witch. Now she makes Stacey Dash and all these other women like Candace Owens look really, really, really bad. But she did it in a way that she also make Candace Owens look like she's a dumbass, because at least she started out with a black man. The idea here that she can bedwitch her way and sleep her way to the top is what she did. And now, since she was screwing this man, when she said that she was only screwing him for a year, she basically is talking like, how dare you bring my name up in this? Nigga, we dated only for a year. Although I had sex with you just to get those two positions, because I knew that if the coochie was good, he was going to give me that appointment. How many women can just say that they basically went to the top based upon giving sex to a man? A lot of women have a hidden secret of getting jobs that they know they don't qualify, but since they had sex with the boss, they're in those positions. And therefore, the WAP is that powerful. Willie was sprung on the WAP. Willie was like, okay, she's giving me that young WAP. And yes, this woman deserved to sit on these two boards. And old Mammy Kamala Harris' career was on the way. And then on top of that, now she is she showed resentment that she even had to do something like that with old Willie, their old Negro Willie. And old Negro Willie was out there just smashing and smashing this. He knew that he can take advantage because of the role that he was in. Old Willie was basically satisfied with that young thing. And as you know, that certain types of bad wenches, when they come over here to the United States, they basically will sleep in and do all they can, and then have the nerves to ignore you after they done made it all the way to the top. And now, since she's getting attention from White Daddy, the hell with that old bastard. I don't need him no more, is what she's basically saying here. He did, showing resentment and disrespecting the black man. Folks, we're on every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're on from 7 p.m. to 8:30, and sometimes we do go over as well. And so don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, if you would like to donate to the show, go ahead and send your contributions. I will put it up there, my cash out information, so that our show can grow. A lot of times that we do need to grow the show, and I think your donations will help us out and we put that up there. So you basically will have the funding to continue to talk about the stories that impacts you and also empower you, or the shows and the commentary that you want to talk about. Well, join us next week, next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Same time, same place. We'll be on YouTube and also on Instagram. Sorry for our Instagram folks. We ran the feed stop at short time, battery juice, whatever, but we'll get you next time. Make sure that you listen to the entire show. That's been our show for tonight. So long, everybody.